Hello, everyone. Welcome back to the podcast. Today, we decided to talk about interviews. Everyone's going to have to go through one, whether you're volunteer or career, and we'll make it a little bit easier about talking some of the important aspects, such as wardrobe, leaving a lasting impression, and being confident in yourself. No matter what type of interview you go to, you're going to have some of the standard questions, like tell us about yourself. And when you're answering these questions, it's important to be descriptive and direct, but obviously leave out any information that they couldn't ask you directly in the interview itself. Things about race, marriage, protected classes, such as that.
Yeah, so a big thing is that there's a lot of things where people will talk about, as Chris was saying, things that aren't really important, like the tell us about yourself question. People will kind of make the mistake of thinking, oh, that means that I should just tell people like everything about my life. Like I used to do ballet when I was, a kid or whatever like that. And if it is something that is related, like that makes you ideal for the job, like if you mentioned how ballet or soccer or whatever taught you to work in a team, that's great. But if it's not something that's going to be directly related to the job, probably leave that out.
I completely agree, and I'll be honest, you should probably keep it down to, less than 60 seconds. Just give them a quick recap of yourself, leave them a little intrigued about you, leave them, wanting to ask more follow-up questions about some of the things you said. But, obviously this is the first question out of the gate in the interview, and you've got a lot more questions to answer.
Yeah. And one thing I will say is humor can work in interviews, but I would avoid that. It's very hard to do a joke that is going to be something that's going to actually benefit you in the end. So I would avoid that. I get that some people have, nervous laughter, or they try and be funny when they're nervous, but it's probably not the best time to do that.
It's a risky move. I mean, I've pulled it off once. It was for a fire job out east, and they asked me what I used to do for other work, and I asked them if they'd seen the movie Deuce Bigalow, Male Gigolo, and the entire oral board panel stopped and looked at me very confused, and then I explained to them I used to clean fish tanks, not that I was a male gigolo. So got the room absolutely roaring with laughter, but very risky move.
Yeah. Be very sure that it's going to work if you're going to do that. That was a good one, though.
Yeah.
All right. So, I guess, do you want to just talk about different questions?
Well, I'll be honest, most of these questions are designed to try and figure out whether you've got problem-solving techniques or whether you can prioritize different elements of different things and how it apply to public service general life.
Yeah.
So when you're answering questions, I think the biggest thing to be mindful of is actually listening to the question and answering the question. Don't put too much fluff into anything, and be confident in your answers. Obviously, you want to go into the interview well-rehearsed.
Mm-hmm.
You want to go appropriately dressed.
Yep.
Because you want to leave a lasting impression. Unfortunately, you are one of many people applying for that position, and if you don't leave a very lasting impression, you'll just get lost in the weeds.
Yeah, and from both of us having been on an oral board panel interviewing people, I think both of us would agree that after literally just 2 or 3 interviews, they kind of morph together, and it's kind of hard to remember, oh, this person was that one person who just moved here from whatever state and they did this before. Like, it's hard to remember that stuff, so you really need to have something about you that is going to stand out, and that comes from good answers to questions.
One of the things I found that really help people stand out during interviews is people who do their research.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of times people ask, what do you know about our department? And that's where if you've done your research, you can go back and look at public records. You can look at board meetings. You can figure out the size of the department, their response area, how many calls they run per year, what their budget is, what the employee staffing looks like. All that stuff is public information. If you go into an interview knowing that, you're going to look like a much better candidate than a lot of other people.
Yeah, and that's a really good point, because I know for us when we did interviews, that people are looking for a job, so they probably applied multiple places. They probably interviewed or tested or whatever at multiple agencies, and that's fine. We understand that. But when someone does come in and they know something about your agency, that is one of those things that makes them stand out, because you realize, oh, they actually care about working here, and this isn't just another place that they submitted an application along with all the others.
One of the things I'm looking for when I'm interviewing people is the ability to problem solve. And I'm not looking for a simple problem with a simple answer. I'm looking for somebody who really thought about an innovative solution to a problem at hand. Oftentimes, it can be something, not related to the fire service at all, but I'm looking for somebody who really thought outside the box and was able to give me something that I may not have thought of myself.
Yeah, absolutely. And then another thing is they're trying to see if you'll fit in with the people that they have employed there. So part of that is culture, if you meet their culture. And, quite honestly, though, it comes down to just, are you going to be someone that I want to spend 48 hours, 24 hours, however long with? Do I think you're going to get along with everyone? Because that's a huge part of, this job.
Yeah, and that can touch on many different areas, especially when it comes to public service. One of the things I try and be cautious of is the good old boys club.
Mm-hmm.
I try and steer clear of it.
Yeah.
If I know of a department has that reputation, I obviously won't apply there. But you definitely want to fit in without being a good old boy.
Right. Yeah, that's definitely. And like Chris said, do your research, which will help you out in the interview, because, you'll know things about the department, but also for that reason, because that's a certain culture, a certain side of things that is not as good, that you do want to avoid.
So obviously you want to be tactful in your answers. You want to have well-rehearsed answers without sounding too, a parrot-like response.
Yeah, robotic, whatever.
But you definitely want to come well prepared. Obviously, Google all the interview questions that you can come across, and you can prepare yourself for a lot of different situations. But you want to come across as confident. And some of the things that the interview questions aren't going to ask that your appearance will answer is how you prepared for the interview. Are you clean-cut shaven? Does it look like you just woke up? Can the people interview smell you? Mm-hmm. I mean, I think you wouldn't have to say that nowadays, but that actually is a problem here and there.
Yeah. So
all those things culminate to make a big difference when it comes to interviewing.
Yeah, absolutely. And, it's just, there's a lot that is evaluated in interviews that people don't quite realize. And those things, that is your first impression. So, shaking everyone's hands, that's another thing, is people might be offended if you just go in and sit right down, so make sure you actually shake each person's hand, learn their names, actually listen when they say their names, because I, for one, am one of those horrible people that will look you right in the eye and forget to listen to your name. So make sure you listen and, thank them for their time, be super polite. And that goes even on the way to the interview. I've heard a story of someone that they were going to an interview and there was someone that cut them off in traffic, and they start yelling at the person, flipping them off and stuff. They get to the interview, and that person opens the door for them, and it turns out that's like their secretary. So, just be mindful of that the whole day.
So now I've got a question for you. In this digital age, do you believe in bringing a copy of your cover sheet and resume to the interview?
Yeah, I do, because I think that it looks good. It shows that you're prepared. And if they do want it, then you can give it to them. If they don't want it, no big deal, but at least you had it there, so you were prepared,
So in the follow-up, one copy or copies for everyone there?
I bring several, just in case. I don't know how many people will be on the board, so I usually bring like 6 or so. But, yeah, I would bring more than one.
So we've talked about your appearance, talked about how to answer questions appropriately, talked about making a good impression. Anything else you can think of, Eric?
That's really all that. I think those are the key things. You just, really prepare for it. Don't wait till the last second. Make sure that you are practicing it each day for a while before. And also, filming yourself is not a bad idea. Film yourself, sit in a chair, and just answer questions, because you'll be able to see any weird habits you have, like fidgeting around like I'm doing, and all these things. So I would recommend that, but I think that other than that, that's...
and there's some ones that I think a lot of people don't think of, but you have to be truly confident in public speaking, mm-hmm. and you have to get comfortable with that. It may require you to get 10 people you may not be very comfortable to sit in a room while you speak to them all at once. But if that can get you to avoid saying the word 74 times in an interview, that's going to go a long ways. Now, if you do say 74 times in an interview, it's going to leave a lasting impression, but maybe the wrong impression.
Right, yeah. I mean, maybe not. Who knows? But yeah, no, try and avoid that.
Regardless of how the interview goes, just remember that you made it that far so far, and you've already gone upstream against many other people. Continue what you're doing. You're in the right space. You're in the right process. You just have to convince these people that you're the right candidate.
Right.
With that, always close out your interview with asking a couple of questions.
Yes.
Come prepared and know what you want to ask them about their department, things that you couldn't find online or through word of mouth.
Mm-hmm. And with that, avoid things that are like pay-wise or schedule, like, will I have vacation time for this or with that?
Oh, it sounds way too cocky and confident.
Yeah, and it's just not really appropriate for that. So, like Chris was saying, find something about their department that you couldn't find anywhere else, and something that shows that you are genuinely interested in their department.
Well, with that being said, don't forget to tell your friends about our channel. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and share. We look forward to seeing you guys in the next one. Please be safe out there, and we'll talk to you next time.